Hi, good day. I'm Michael Stewart, and this is TLC, Transforming Lives Continually. Always a pleasure to be with you, and I hope that the programs that we bring here from time to time will be of value to you in some way, shape, or form. Today we want to start a series. This series is called The Laws of Relationship. The Laws of Relationship, which is really an insight into a book that I'm going to be publishing in just a while. As some of you may be aware, I've published 6 books before, 2 of them on relationships. One of them is called 4 Reasons Why Relationships Fail. And the other one is 7 Keys to Unlock the Mystery of Men. So now we are going into this 3rd book of relationships. Out of this, this would make it my 7th book, and this one is called The Laws of Relationships. It is very important that I explain to you what we mean by these laws, and as you look into it, I want you to search your own relationship, whether you are married, you are single, you are divorced, or whatever it is, to be able to understand what may have gone wrong. And if you know what may have gone wrong or what could go wrong, you can know how to make things right. Okay? So as we go into these laws, let me explain to you what a law is. A law is a method or operation of life. Life is run by laws. If you listen to Miles Monroe has been able to explain this so clearly about that it is all about laws. Sometimes we think that life runs otherwise than laws, but it is really laws. And let me explain this. That it does not matter so much about who you are, but whether you obey laws. For example, if you take a good seed, plant it into a good soil, and you get good weather, it does not matter how wicked you are or how godly you are. You have obeyed the laws of sowing and reaping. If you sow good seed, you are supposed to reap a good harvest. That's a law. We have been taught years ago, and most of us have been brought up on this philosophy. If you are a God-fearing man and you meet a God-fearing woman, you will live happily ever after. And I thought that was abundantly true, until I recognized that there are so many marriages that are Christian marriages that are failing. 50% of marriages fail in general, and in the church we are not immune from the failure that takes place in many of these marriages. So it does not matter, and these are good, honest people. The man is an honest, God-fearing man, the woman is an honest, God-fearing woman, and yet they just don't make it. And there are people who are not even godly, not even righteous, and they are still living happy married lives. So why is that so? Could it be that the people who call themselves Christians, whose marriages don't work, may be breaking laws of relationship, and those who are not married or not Christians, they are obeying the laws of relationships? You see, because sometimes we think it is personal to us to give us the success, but I'm convinced now it is really the obedience to laws. So as we go into it, I want you to be able to look at it from that perspective. Let me give you another law. The law of gravity. That's a law. The law of gravity has no bias and no leanings towards anybody because of who you are and how godly you are, how honest you are, how sincere you are. It's a law that operates, and this law that operates has no regard for your personal opinion, your status in life, your political persuasion, your religious affiliation, nor your sincerity of heart. Law of gravity, if you jump from a high building and you are plummeting towards the earth and you have nothing to break your fall, you shall crash to earth just like any other man who foolishly jumped off of a roof. Why? Because it's the law of gravity. The law of gravity has no softening for people. So if we understand laws and if we get that into our hearts and our minds, then we will be able to now be able to chart a more successful life living in harmony with laws. God has set this world on laws. It was the first thing that he gave Adam were laws. Don't do this, don't do that. Laws. He set the heavens and the earth in laws. He said, I am going to make night and day, and they shall not meet. They shall be separated. When night is there and day arrives, and the daylight arrives, night is going to move aside. That's a law. Nobody could change that. Laws aren't changed by a whimsical condition or thought of somebody. And so that's why I need you to understand how this issue of laws operate. Laws of finances, you have that. So law of finances, if you deposit more than you withdraw, you will always have. Always remember that. If you withdraw more than you deposit, you shall always lack. That's a law. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter how intelligent you are and how much maths you have as in your qualification and how much economics you claim to be. As long as you deposit more than you withdraw, you will always have. As long as you withdraw more than you deposit, you will always lack. There's no question about that. Until you come to understand that, and I come to understand that, we will always either live in happiness or in sadness based upon that. Because the laws will punish us if we break those laws. So, I want to take the time, and so we're probably going to use the next couple of weeks to be able to unfold some of these laws as we talk about it. All right? So you have that. So, if we take that as a principle that we are going to apply in relationships, your relationship must be based on laws. Even the Bible says, he that doeth righteousness is righteous. As long as a person is doing the right thing, they are going to get the benefits of right living. So that is the principle, that's law that is laid down. And if you think you are righteous and live unrighteous, then you're going to get the benefits of breaking that law. Yes? So, if we have that together, let's get into now the laws of relationship. These laws of relationship would help guide us to determine the success of our marriages or relationships that we have. If you breach the law, you're not going to get it. And many of these laws, I realize, that are based on principles of biblical foundation. Let's give an example. The Bible says, a soft answer turns away wrath. That's a law. So you ask yourself, how come there are Christian marriages where people shout and scream at each other so much and don't understand why their relationship not working? Because you're breaking the law that talks about how you resolve issues. You cannot find that because somebody shouts at you, that you feel you can shout back and not get the results of that broken law. If you are soft in your response to somebody, a word that is fitly spoken, and you would use wisdom in responding to somebody, the law says that somebody cannot be angry at a pitch. The word is wrath. They are angry at a pitch. And you are soft in your response. You are respectful in your response. And they keep at that pitch. For them to keep at that pitch, they've got to be psychologically imbalanced. And shouting at somebody who's psychologically imbalanced is not going to give you any measure of calmness from that person in the first place. So in marriages and relationships, there's a lot of shouting and screaming and arguing and calling names and insult that's taking place, and then we don't understand why is it our marriages and our relationships not working. It's not supposed to. If the laws of life is working, that's how life looks. When it is working, you are supposed to have an unhappy relationship if you are screaming and shouting at each other in a relationship. Now, if your relationship is that, then I'm just telling you, that's a law that you have broken. Soft answers turn away wrath. Right? So, when you look at it, this thing is easy. It's easier than we thought. only because we have to ask ourselves, am I breaking a law? If you look at your relationship, ask yourself, which law are you breaking? You know, one of the things that I learned, I had the opportunity for a gentleman to teach me flying aeroplanes. And so I remember my first time behind the yoke of an aircraft. And as we are taxiing towards the takeoff point, I'm anxious and I want to just get to the point of takeoff because that is where I felt that the exhilaration and the excitement is. So I'm kind of taxiing fast, and the instructor leaned over me and said, Mike, slow down. Take your time to the takeoff point. Don't rush it. Use this time to do all your checks and make sure that you're in contact with the air traffic controller. Make sure all your checks of the airplane are in proper order, and so on. So I took my time, started going down. We came to the point of takeoff, and then he said, let's do the final checks. And I said, check again? So now we have to do all the necessary things that pilots do. Look at wind speed, look at the weather, determine whether the wings are operating, the hydraulics are okay, and so on. And I was getting so frustrated. What he was telling me is this: preparation is more important than the takeoff. And that hit me. If we take enough time to prepare an aircraft for takeoff, there's a high chance that flight will be successful and safe. If you rush that preparation time and you look to take off and then you have to do all those checks in the air, you are not guaranteed a safe landing. And many times in relationships, I don't think we take enough time to taxi. I don't think we take enough time to enjoy the journey towards the takeoff. I don't think we take enough time to do the checks and balances to make sure that I am okay, the aircraft is okay, my spouse is okay, the person that I'm going to get into this marital relationship is okay. We don't do that. A lot of times we hasten that. And when we hasten that, we break the law, one of the fundamental laws of relationship, taking time in preparation. So many people have gotten into relationships before they are even ready. They're even prepared. They don't even know themselves. They don't even know what they like, what they don't like. They might be running from one relationship and now entering into a second relationship just because they didn't want to be lonely off of the last relationship. People are not even single and whole in themselves, and they attach themselves to somebody else, hoping that this next person is going to make me whole. No, take your time to prepare. Some people are just too young and they enter in relationship. They hardly can even know what love is, and they are in a relationship. Take time to know yourself. Do that preparation, or else you'll break the fundamental laws of a successful flight in marriage and a successful flight in relationships. Be prepared. That was one of the things that I learned from him very, very clearly. The preparation. I understood it also when my son, I heard him outside on a tree trying to chop a branch, and I heard for quite a while this chopping sound on the branch. Having understood preparation is more important than the event itself, I called him from off the tree and I said, son, come. And I said, is your cutlass sharpened? He said, I think so, Dad. When I checked it, it was dull. I said, son, take more time in preparing the cutlass, preparing your tool for the work itself. So we sat down and we sharpened the cutlass, real sharp. It took a while. He wanted to get out of the sun. He wanted to make sure that he just go and cut that thing and come down. I said, okay, no, let's just take the time and prepare. Let's just sharpen this cutlass properly. We sharpened it, we were shine at the edge and so on. And he went up back on the tree. I heard 3 chops. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And then I heard the branch break. He said, Dad, that was easy. Of course it was easy. You took the time in preparation. So the success of the event is better guaranteed. That's a law. If you prepare for an exam, the exam is going to be easy because you are prepared for the exam. You know why people say that exam was hard? Because they were not prepared for the exam. So the exam was hard. If you are prepared for the exam, the same exam that you call hard, you speak to another student who passed with flying colors. You hear what they said? Oh, that was easy. I thought it would have been harder. Why? They were prepared. Preparation is more important than the event. That's a fundamental law. Are you prepared for your relationship? Were you prepared? There are some people, they are in the relationship, but they were never friends with the person before they got into the relationship. They almost went from just knowing the person as an acquaintance and got straight into the event of the relationship itself. And while inside of the relationship, they recognize that this relationship is not working for me. And then when they break up now and they come out, because they were not friends, the only thing you can be with that person after you've broken up is an enemy. Why? Because the preparation of friendship was never there. I hope you understand. I hope that you are getting my point when I said preparation is more important than the event. If people prepare for heaven, heaven is guaranteed to be yours. You just can't just wake up and just figure that you're just going to go to heaven. You need to prepare yourself for a heavenly realm. So, I want you to consider that first law, that preparation. The other thing that I learned while we were learning to fly is that as we were taxiing and we came to the final checkpoint, we got clearance from air traffic control. My instructor told me, Michael, push the throttle forward and the plane is going to go down on the road. So as we push the throttle forward, the plane is going down and it's picking up speed. It's picking up speed and it's traveling at an awesome rate. An awesome rate that I'm not accustomed to, not even in a car. But I'm hesitating because the speed is so awesome that I'm figuring that, listen, if I push this thing and it goes even faster, because the more you push it forward, the faster it's going to go, and it goes faster, can I really control this plane? So I'm not pushing it forward, I'm pushing it halfway, half-heartedly. And the instructor said, Mike, push the thing full throttle. And I said, what if we have to stop? And he told me, after you hit a certain speed, stopping is not an option. You've got to go all the way. You've got to go full throttle. So you might as well take your foot off of the braking system that is going to bring the plane to a stop, because the brakes would not make sense again at that speed. Now that was also another eye-opener for me. There are sometimes that when you get into a situation, you go all the way or never take off at all. And marriage is one of those. You cannot get into marriage half-heartedly. You got to give it your all. You got to go full throttle. Going halfway, after you have met a certain speed and you are halfway, you will crash because you can't take off and you cannot stop. And that's why so many people are destroyed in relationships, because they are either in the relationship half-hearted, or the person that they are in with did not give it their all. And that's why we've got to push it to the full throttle. Marriage is your all. And when Christ's disciples asked him this question, can a man divorce his wife for any reason? Which means, can I push the throttle of marriage halfway and be able to stop for any reason? Christ says, no. In the beginning it was not so. In the beginning he made them male and female, and he gave them an explanation, and he told them about how it is with marriage and divorce. You can only be divorced if it is for fornication and so on. And they realized that once you're in, you're in. Once you're in, you can't come back out. Because what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. He said you're in full 100%. You know what the disciples said? then it is good that a man never be married. That might be a good point. Because if you're not going to go in full, stay out. And there are times that you figure you're not ready for marriage. Don't enter. Powerful message. Powerful, powerful message. The third thing that I learned, and all of these are laws, all of these are laws, because once you hit a certain speed, you've got to now make that take off. The third thing that I learned is that as we went down, I pushed it full throttle. In fact, I didn't really push it full throttle because I was scared. He put his hand over mine and pushed my hand forward to make sure we went full throttle, because I was not only endangering myself, I was endangering him and also at the destruction of his plane. So he needed to take an overriding action and push my hand forward. We eventually lifted off. I pulled the yoke back. We are in the air. But as we are in the air and we are going over the mountains, the plane begins to shake. So I leaned over and I asked him, why is the plane vibrating like that? Because I'm now becoming even concerned. And he said to me this: you have left land. The plane has taken off. There are going to be different air currents that are going to be operating. And in takeoff, because you are in a new dynamic with the airplane, it will take a while before the plane can rise above all of this and level off, and then you can be able to smoothly sail, what we may call, you may coast, glide. You'll be able to have smooth sailing only after you have done the takeoff and you have climbed high enough. Ah, what another good lesson. Powerful lesson I learned. Every stage in your life is a new level, a new dynamic. You see, when you were young and as a baby and other people taking care of you, that was a dynamic. And so you could have operated at a certain level. When you reach a certain age and you now start to go to school and you have to now do homework and so on, it is rocky. And a lot of children figure that I don't like school, I want to stay home, because it's a new dynamic. And then after they get to understand it, they like school and they understand it because they're learning and so on. And then after they've left school, it's a new dynamic. They've got to be in the work world. They've got to wake up on time. They've got to go to work on every day. They've got to perform at a certain thing. And some people just can't make that adjustment first. But every new dynamic gives you a new responsibility and a new vibration in your life. It rocks you in certain cases, and some people give up at those points. And then by the time you are in a job and you start working and so on, and you get into a relationship, with a new dynamic. And by the time you get in that relationship and you decide to get married, you've given up your single life, your independence, your spontaneous life. You're now in a relationship that you have to now more or less report to somebody, account to somebody. It's a new rocking dynamic. Children are coming along, a new situation. That always happens. And it's the same thing with relationships and it is with the plane. Things will always change. But here's what, not just because the plane is vibrating and rocking that you're going to come back to land. You've got to keep climbing until you've reached a certain height. And that takes time. For some of us, it takes years. If you check some people who are living their happy relationship years after 40, 50 years of marriage, they will tell you, look at how many times they thought about giving up. You can't just get married 1 year and you're going through a rocking time and so on and you just give up on it. Why? Because you need to climb. You need to climb above the weather. You need to climb above all of those currents that of the warm air and the cold air, all of those things that are going on, the pressures that the mountains are throwing up against you as you climb. But you've got to climb. You can't come back down. And if we understand that, then we're going to recognize that I will go through some rocking times in my marriage. You will go through some hard times in your relationships. But don't give up. Somebody says it takes about 7 years before you could really start leveling off in your marriage. So 5 years, you're still going through some stuff. 6 years, you're still adjusting. 7 years, you're beginning to understand. Yeah? So my encouragement to you is don't give up too soon. Of course, somebody will ask, when is time to give up? When would you know that you have put up with enough and it's time to give up? Well, probably another program we're going to deal with that. But for today, I just wanted to give you an appreciation of the laws. The next program, hopefully, we will now deal with the laws themselves. Some of the laws of relationship that would give you the insight into how to be able to run a successful marriage and relationship. The Bible says marriage is honorable in all and the bed undefiled. A good home is built on knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We look forward to helping you as you strive to live a successful marriage. Some of us have gone through so many broken relationships that we tell ourselves marriage and relationships is not for us. I doubt that. I think that there is still more inside of you than you can even imagine. Just recognize to obey the laws of relationships. I'm Michael Stewart, and this is Transforming Lives Continually. I look forward to this wonderful series, and I hope that you are able to join us every time for it. Until then, may God continually bless you.